What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also am the co-host and co-producer of the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team since 2020, the team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. I am also a featured contributor to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel, and that channel is the place where Black women have a voice on YouTube. They have 581,000 subscribers, and also I am a content creator and a member of the advisory board of Indie Soup Media, which is a 1 month old, over the top OTT independent content creators network that's based out of the US, powered by Dr. Tachi out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have about 3 or 4 programs on that platform, and the reach of that platform is over 1 million people. So before we get down to it, it is Black Canada Talking on, I believe, April 28th. The weather is decent outside, so I thought it was August. April 28th. 2024. Let's do some homework, housekeeping. If you want to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, please go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the subscribe and notification button so you get notified of our epic conversations. And also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Also, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the vibe@show.com. As I said, it is Black Canada Talking, where Black Canadians give their takes, POVs, etc., on things that are not only going on in Canada, but around the world, in their neighborhood, sometimes even in their house. And our regular guest now, I think I can say that confidently. Our regular guest, Cesar Ndema-Moussa, is with us, and here he is today. What is up, Cesar?
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Hi, everyone. Hi, family. Thank you always for having me. I'm good. Thanks.
Good. What's been going on?
Last week, I was still in the air coming back from Geneva, where I had the honor to be one of the Canadian delegates for the Black Civil Society, and regarding the Forum on People of African Descent. So it's been hard coming back, the jet lag, but also jumping right back into work. I had a business trip Monday. So
what?
Yeah, less than 24 hours after I landed. I landed Sunday night.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I was on a business trip. So
wow.
Glad to be here. And of course, family first. Yeah.
Well, let's get right into it. And I know you want to cover this in different phases, but how was the journey getting there?
The journey getting there. So this time it was Geneva. Last year it was New York City. It's important first and foremost for our listeners, Black and non-Black, to understand the importance of the Forum on People of African Descent. So really, it's in the context of the decade, the international decade, by the United Nations for People of African Descent, where you basically get delegations from different countries to address issues faced by Black peoples in the countries and overall in the world. It's a very important forum, unfortunately not mediatized enough. I'm telling you that I've been there twice, and it's truly here with Dr. Vibe that I'm really talking about it. Not just as a mention or anything you want to call it. We get there, how can I put it? The leading anti-police brutality activist in France, Assa Traoré, is there. You have the very large Brazilian delegation, including the organization to the memory of Marielle Franco, the Rio de Janeiro councillor who was shot 5 times in the head, a Black woman who stood up for the rights of Black people, poor, LGBTQ, etc. You get activists from the United States at different levels, including regarding DNA research, um, to reconnect, you know, Afro descendants back to the tribes back in Africa. So it's a large collection that also includes at those forums representatives of countries. I'm talking here ministers, assistant deputy ministers. Last year in New York, we had the Brazilian president, Lula, Lula, as is his name, Lula, who basically, Lula da Silva, who spoke to us just as this year, um, you know, Canada being represented, notably with Senator Jean Augustine, who was there. So it's not a small event. Of Unfortunately, it doesn't get the media coverage it should have. And as we talk about 2024, the last year of the decade, a big talk was regarding its renewal. So the question in terms of the getting there part is not anyone who can just be there. You have to have done and to be doing concrete work for your community. You need to be acknowledged. You need to have an impact. And when I say this, let's be careful. It's not a popularity contest, but it's also not a matter of who got the most funding from the government. Roots and Culture Canada is a prime example of it. None. So it's not because of funding, but it's because of impact. It's because of being not only grassroots level, but also addressing institutions, but also connecting with other organizations that are doing the work. Um, it's a beautiful experience. I mean, just imagine. Um, I can't remember the specific number, but let me say 1,000 to 2,000 representatives of Black organizations, almost worldwide. I say almost because it's mainly concentrated to Africa and Afro descendants, aka descendants of the Christian European white slave trade. Um, but yeah, no, it's a wonderful experience.
Uh, so this is the second time you've been to Geneva. Is that correct?
For me, the first time in Geneva, but it
Okay.
is the second time it is held in Geneva. So the first forum was in Geneva in 2022, the second one in 2023 in New York, and this is the third one. So for me, New York last year, Geneva this year.
Before getting there, what did you want to achieve?
I think the importance and the honor in terms of before getting there is to take advantage of the platform. But it's not to take advantage of the platform in terms of putting a check mark. Example, Dr. Vibe, you give me a great platform, but it's not a platform in terms of a check mark. So whether I'm at Dr. Vibe or tomorrow I'm on CNN, being at the United Nations is not a check mark either. It's to basically spread the message of the ancestors, of those who came before us, because we all stand on the shoulders of giants, but too often we don't know who's doing what. We don't know who is needing our support. We don't know who's needing that boost. Groups create. So we last year, following New York, uh, we have a Canadian delegation group. Yes, but us, Roots and Culture Canada, are also in a group that has a collective, an international collective of Black and African militants. I say Black and African because not everyone there is Black, even though it's the vast majority. It's really the fact of understanding how uh, we get so drowned in terms of white narratives, white European, white Arab, white Jewish, white Aryan, as I always say, Indo-European narratives, that we forget that here in Canada, whether we are in Ottawa or Toronto, is so similar to what is happening to sisters and brothers who look like us, not just in the US, not just in United Kingdom. What about in Brazil? What about in France? Countries I talk about often. What about in Mexico? But in Norway, those countries that we don't hear about often in our news, and yet there's black people over there. There's black people in every country in the world. There's black people in Ukraine, and they were victims of racism in 2022. You see, so that's really the wish is not just to connect, but to find a similarity, to renew the soul, to renew the energy, to remember why we are doing this for. Next. Oh, you're mute, Dr. Vibe. You're mute.
Sorry about that. No, I just said that a lot to live up to going into that conference. How did you, now, at the previous one, you didn't get a chance to speak.
You remember?
I remember. Yes, I remember. So were you guaranteed any that you were going to be speaking at this one? I'm going to go there, brother.
And you see, this is where if Ketia Peters was here, she would be assuring you that it was guaranteed, because she believes in the universe, right? What you put out there. Me, I believe in nothing until my name is said for me to speak. I don't believe it till it happens.
Right.
Especially as I had the experience in New York, right? So no, I mean, to me, I was not guaranteed. And let's be fair, a lot of people put their names to speak. Only a minority get to do it.
What is the process?
Long story short, it begins with states. So ministers, yes, the states, and I mean, we this is a thing for black people, and yet we tend to reproduce the same Western/white supremacist processes that we complain about. It is the states that speak first, officially for 2 minutes each, but they can go over 2 minutes. And then you have the panel of experts, basically civil societies, for which the event is for. That's what the forum is for. Truly get to speak in the afternoon. And then with a limitation of 2 minutes each, you obviously understand that not everybody who can put their names get to speak. I believe when I did speak,
now you're on. There we go.
And I got to speak on day one.
Right.
But on day one, I think there was over 150 names. And that's for day one.
Whoa, Jesus.
This is not 150 names for the whole week that we were there.
One day.
That's for one day. So there's 1,000 to 2,000 people. And they have different criteria or different selection. Oh, a matter of giving a chance to everyone. Not passing people from the same organization, looking at a certain balance in regards to gender. I'll be very honest. Once you get to speak, it's a big burden off your shoulders, because then, whoever can speak after, that's fine. But it's the chance of being able to speak. Last year, what made me upset was less that I didn't get to speak, but it was the fact that I know people who did sign up to speak after me got to speak. So I got overlooked, not just on day one, but the whole week. I was getting a little bit paranoid here. Like, who Googled my name and decided that, this guy is trouble. And when I did speak, trust me.
Yeah, I had it. But so how far in advance were you notified?
Dr. Vibe, there's a question. There's a question. So, my black people, forgive me. I'm going to say something that may offend some people, but I have to say this because I was saying it before we were there in Geneva, and you were speaking about the experience of getting there. I have this expression that I say since last year in New York, that there's people who prepare for World War III. We know who I'm talking about. There's people who are preparing to land and colonize Mars. And us black people, entertainment, consumerism, and religion are priorities, including the fact of being unable to properly organize even something as a black forum.
You're kidding.
Yeah, you asking, how in advance do you know you're speaking? But Dr. Vibe, you literally have to stay glued into your chair so you don't miss your chance, because it's not a matter of, I'm telling you, I was number 59. It's not number 2, 3, 4 up to 59. It can literally be at any moment.
Come on, why have the numbers?
Why have the numbers?
So they just randomly pick people to.
That's what I'm telling you. So I was not the 59th person to speak.
Right.
I was number 59, but I did speak before, let's say, the 59th person got to speak. Imagine if it was my first time and I'm calculating at 2 minutes each, number 59, that means I can come in 2 hours later. It should be around to be my turn. Oh, I would have skipped. I would have missed my turn. You have to literally stay glued in. Katia Peters didn't play. CEO Katia Peters didn't play. She was like, if you know you're talking on this day, you don't take a chance. You stay glued there. You don't go to the washroom, because they call your turn. They say your name once, twice, 3 times if you're lucky. Next person. So it's not like 150 people put up their names. They look up, okay, they decide this person goes in this order, and then they put the order, and then, let's say they call number 20, and then on the board, you see the next 10 people to be speaking. No, 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 I am telling you, we are not, Black people, we are talented. We have so many talents. We have so many talents. And I mean, we can see so well in entertainment, in sports, in business, in you name it. We have so many talents. But my God, World War III, the aliens come, we are done. Actually, we might be saved, because they'd be like, oh, there's no threats. No, I'm sorry. I have to say, in all fairness, anyone who gets upset at me, I was not the only one upset at this process. I was not the. That's why I said, once you get to speak, it's a big burden off your shoulders. Because literally, if you want to speak, and there's people who lost the turn. There's
What?
people, well, of course. There's people who lost, like, it's and this is at the United Nations. This is not your local community center or whatever school board, whatever. This is at the United Nations. I am not trashing the United Nations. It's an amazing forum. It's extremely important. It's, of course, amazing to have on a resume as a life experience. You name it. But I am Cesar. I will not be lying or hiding certain facts of things that I've seen. This is not just my perspectives. Many talked about this. You literally, like, you put your name. If I had not spoken on day one, just like in New York, I would have had to sit there on day 2 hoping my name is called, if not on day 3, if not on day 4. And who knows if I wouldn't have left not having said or not having been called to speak at all.
So okay, so whose responsibility is it? Is it the UN's to make it run smoothly, or is it the delegations? Or both?
The UN. It's not the delegations, because the delegations, if it was up to the delegations, the states wouldn't even speak. The state speaking takes 2 hours. By the time they go to states, and I mean, we're not saying it's not important, but I mean, when we will hear my video, you will understand what I mean by the states.
Okay, all right.
Oh, you will understand what I mean by the states. You will understand what I mean by the state, that they literally take this time, and it's like, because what's Canada going to say that the Canadian delegations don't already know? And that us, Canadian delegations, when we will speak, we will talk about the situation in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You literally could, very honestly, scrap the states part. Because the delegations from those countries will talk about the situation in their countries.
Sure.
The states delegations, the representatives of the governments, of course we're doing all these great things for Black people in our countries. That's obviously what they're going to say. Wow. And then you have the panel of experts on different topics. But the truth of the matter, are we not all experts to be there? We've said it's not me, Cesar. If anyone wants to think, man, this guy's a big head, big ego. No. I literally can tell you everybody that I was in the two groups that I'm in, are all experts. We had the members of the federal black servants lawsuits.
Oh, yes.
They were there. Are you going to tell me that they're not experts?
Makes sense.
You see?
Makes a lot of sense. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break for a few minutes, and then we're crossing our fingers. When we come back, we'll get to see Cesar in action. So you are watching Black Canada Talking with myself, Dr. Vibe, and Cesar Ndema-Moussa. And as I said, when we come back, cross the fingers, we're going to watch Cesar in action, recorded in Geneva. We'll catch you in 2 minutes.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like, everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe if you see him in the chat. And Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I gotta say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy. Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. We are back on Black Canada Talking with Dr. Vibe, myself, and Cesar Ndema-Moussa. We're talking about his recent trip over to the Permanent Forum on the People of African Descent. It was held in Geneva a few weeks back. And our goal now is to see if I'm able to play from Cesar's Facebook page his speech. So let me see if I can cue this up here. Now, Cesar, tell me if this is the right thing here.
Actually, Dr. Vibe, let's not play that one. I have another one. Like it is it, but the last link, the one shared by Ketia Peters on my, it should be because I shared
okay, let me just see, and sorry for the
delay,
at the very
beginning.
Let me just see for okay, okay, that's that. Nice suit, by the way.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Very well. You always dress so sharp. Okay, I don't see that post. That's your post.
It's a post by Ketia Peters on my wall. It's at the very beginning.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So, all right, 18. Let's see if we got this. Is it one of those 18 shots? Like I see a post. There's a post that got a whole bunch of pictures and photos.
No, it should be with the name Ketia Peters. If not, I can give you the YouTube link.
If you want to put that in the chat, that may be faster for me because I don't. Geneva. I don't. Yeah, I don't. Not really navigating the best here. So if you can share the YouTube link with me in the private chat, on the private chat, it'd be great, because I am not, like, I see some different posts here. I see one, this one.
With photos.
Okay, there's a post here that has photos +4, then there's another post with photos +3. And then
do not worry. I found it right here. I send you the link.
Yeah, let's make this happen. Sorry for the delay, everybody, but just thank you, Cesar. Okay, let's see if we can get this happening here. There we go. All right, let's put the link here. Okay, there. Okay, we're gonna have this in just a moment. I'm gonna put up. Okay, so everybody, this is the star, Cesar, at the United Nations. Let me just cue it up here.
That's a direct link to my speech. It's
all right.
From the whole room and the whole
All right, so we got this. Okay. Can we see it, Cesar? You see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's go full screen, and here we go.
I now give the floor to Cesar Ndema-Moussa, North-South Development Roots and Culture, Canada.
Madam Chairman, salutations to my people of Zumbi dos Palmares, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Patrice Lumumba, and Ruben Umniobe, who stood and died for the Black cause. I must speak some truth, as bothersome as they are to many. I, Cesar Ndema-Moussa, President of North-South Development Roots and Culture Canada, and assisted by our CEO, Mrs. Ketia Peters, are in full support of a renewal of the decade. But in so doing, and addressing the silence of Canada, which renewed for a few years, we must urge accountability and ethical, responsible fiscal spending regarding the monies, regarding how the decade is managed in terms of Black nations, but also in terms of Western and nations and communities. I urge you, please, to remember there is a growth of white supremacists worldwide, not just in the United States with Trump or in France with Zemmour and the Front National, but all over the world, in a world in which skin bleaching kills thousands of Black people worldwide, not just women, but as well, there are violences against women and girls, but also LGBTQ Black people, greatly due to the white supremacist ideologies of Christianity and Islam, blaming Black LGBTQ for how they are naturally born. Allow me to congratulate nations such as China for supporting anti-Black racism, but please, China, do be brave to call out anti-Black racism in your own country, and also be brave to note practices, business practices in Africa that many are calling yellow neocolonialism. In so doing, I also address Saudi Arabia, which fails to be the chair of the United Nations Human Rights. I call on them to also, in modernizing the country, to also recognize not only anti-Black racism, but also to recognize the Arab-Muslim slave trade that has killed 100 to 200 million Africans in 14 centuries. The taboo about that topic is an insult to Black pride and to all of our ancestors. As I finish, and I am aware of time, as I finish, I remind you all who are here. We are in 2024. 30 years ago began the genocide in Rwanda that killed in 3 months 800,000 to 1 million people. The United Nations were complicit in its silence along the same Western nations that speak of freedom, democracy, and human rights. We must not allow for such a thing to happen, and in calling for a new decade, we must dare to bring forth Black pride, but also a consciousness and the means and the will from the politicians, but also from the communities and the individuals to create a better world for our children, to honor our ancestors, and to truly say, as Martin Luther King said, I'm Black and proud. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, what? What? that was outstanding. And people may not realize you only get 3 minutes.
2 minutes.
You got 2.
It's only 2 minutes, and
Wow.
the Madam Chairwoman, Summer, from the Caribbean. I forget exactly where in the Caribbean, but she's Caribbean. At the airport when I was leaving Geneva, we happened to meet to cross at the airport. I thanked her for that additional minute that she allowed me. So you get 2 minutes, but if if what you're saying is impactful, there's an understanding that you need more time. Yes.
Wow. How did that feel?
Last year, as I didn't get to speak, I submitted my inputs. 2 minutes that they didn't give me. So I submitted 21 inputs.
Wow.
Yes, I can be quite wordy.
But you're powerful. I wouldn't say you're wordy. You're sharing, brother. That's fantastic.
So, no, it felt great. It felt great. I basically said I would have said last year, because just a year after. But it's not so much that I said what I would have said last year in New York. It's the fact that last year in New York, just as this year in Geneva, what I talked about was being taboo, addressing. Everybody, of course, was there to talk about white supremacy, but addressing China, addressing Saudi Arabia, and I resisted the temptation. I was actually tempted to play a 58 seconds audio from Martin Luther King, in which his speech, "I'm Black and Proud." I wanted to share that, but it's a great relief. It's a great relief, and many people thanked me. Many people thanked me because it's true what I said. China greatly supports financially the United Nations, notably the Forum for People of African Descent. So, as I said, I congratulate China. But this is a matter of geopolitics. It's a realpolitik, as it said.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of loving Black people. It's a bigger game in terms of influences, in terms of getting African votes, in terms of business dealings. That's why when I addressed China, I said, "Thank you for financing, but we heard the stories during COVID about how Black people were mistreated in China. I teach about how in 2017 in a Chinese museum, Black people, facial expressions were compared to those of animals. How many of our Black people know about the Spring Festival televised program of China, viewed by over 800 million people, the anti-Black comedy with blackface and all that they do? So yes, I'm calling on China to call out its own anti-Black racism on its soil, but also to stop yellow neocolonialism, business practices of neocolonialism, but with a yellow face. If anyone finds the fact that I'm using the term yellow offensive, how Black am I really? You're okay to say Black, you're okay to say white, but then you get offended at yellow? You go to Africa, everybody understands exactly what I'm saying. So yes, we can say African nations are also benefiting, because I was made aware that the Chinese delegation was not very happy, understandably. And that's what I want. Let us dare to have this honest conversation. And Ketia Peters, she told me she sent an email. The Chinese delegation wanted to have a conversation with me. I welcome that.
Oh,
No,
yeah, conversation.
The truth of the matter is this: it is not the first time that, it's easy. I always say it. It's easy to point the finger at the evil Christians, as I call it. But how many people are willing to fight Arab Muslims, but also, let's say, yellow Chinese, whatever, the yellow Japanese, the impact in Africa? There was a panel, there was a side event there that notably addressed the impact of the mistreatment of on mixed black children in Europe and in Africa. And I had to bring in, so it's easy to talk about white people and notably the Belgians in Congo, but I had to bring in to talk about what Japanese did to Congolese women in Africa in the 70s. Little known story. So when I'm there to speak, it's not a matter of, just outrage. It's a matter of let us dare to have the honest conversations, just as when I addressed Saudi Arabia regarding anti-black racism. How many people know that the indigenous Arabs are actually black? Education regarding the Arab Muslim slave trade of Africans? Very taboo topic. I thought people would have been upset at me talking about it. Black Muslims at the United Nations, many of them veiled sisters, came to thank me, told me it was so courageous. I did not expect that. I expected, honestly, and I'm a former Muslim. I know how that taboo topic is strong in Muslim communities. It's great. It's easy to point the fingers. Like I said, the evil white Christians. And yet we live in the countries of freedom, human rights, and despite we can complain about police brutality and systemic racism, there is still a certain court system and certain rights, which in other parts of the world, you're black, you're victim of racism, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? There is no someone like me in some parts of the world. It doesn't exist. You speak up once, never see you again.
Yeah.
I know it. So it had to be said. Canada was silent when it was the state's time to talk regarding the progress of the decade in the country. The Canadian representative didn't talk. That's why I said I was surprised by the silence. The Trudeau government extended the decade for a few years. Okay, but you know how I talk. Fiscal responsibility, ethical management. Let us stop wasting money. Let us stop giving monies to organizations that are used to getting money, and yet on the ground, black people don't see that money back. They don't see the concrete work of it. Those who know, just as you, Dr. Vibe, you know what I'm talking about.
100%.
You know who I'm talking about.
100%.
The people of the Canadian delegations were very happy that I said that. Because, states go there making themselves look good, but come on. This is not about Cesar, the UN. This is about my daughter in 20, 30 years. Yeah. But this is also about all of our children in 20, 30 years. The waste of money, but also the not addressing topics such as China. Why? Because China is financing the UN. Saudi Arabia. We have 100 to 200 million Africans who have been killed by the Arab Muslim slave trade, and that topic is taboo. It's taboo. Even black Muslims don't speak of it. And yet you hear there's no racism in Islam. You hear all this Arab culture. Let us dare to talk about it. In the same way as now, we are able to address white supremacy, with the intersectionality of Christianity and Eurocentrism.
Okay.
If I hadn't talked the way that I talked, I wouldn't be honest.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Have a question before we go any further. Do you give me permission to share this link with everyone who's watching live or on the replay?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
I'm going to do that right now. So wherever you're watching this live on the replay, in the comment section, The YouTube link is there. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put it on the screen so people can watch it also. So just give me that and that banner. And actually, there is the link for Cesar's speech. So either screenshot it and try to type it out. Probably the better way is look in the comment section and copy and paste it from there. Thank you.
Or they just go on my Facebook page and they will find it there.
Same thing. Let me ask, while you were there, was there a constant theme or some consistent themes coming from the delegates that spoke during the time you were there?
Yes, and I apologize. I should have mentioned this at the very start. There were some recurring themes that occurred. Let me just give you a quick rundown of them. We had notably reparations, sustainable development and economic justice. We had education, basically overcoming systemic racism and historic harm. Culture and recognition. So on my Facebook, people will see the day of culture as, we are all dressed. I don't like to say dressed African. We are dressed naturally. And of course, there was the topic of the renewal of the decade, basically the calling for another decade. And that decision, if I'm correct, should come to be in July. It should most likely be positive because the United States and Canada are in support. And I think it is fair to say Brazil is also in support. Brazil is, for those who do not understand, and sometimes maybe wondering, Cesar on Dr. Vibe talks a lot about Brazil from time. Brazil is the country with the largest Black population outside of Africa. My brothers and sisters, it is not the United States. I mean, we live close to the US, so of course, we would tend to think so. No, Brazil is the country with the largest Black population outside of Africa. And in many ways, little surprise. I didn't get to address it, but this might come at the next forum. Hopefully it's in Brazil. If not, it will be in New York. More and more Indians are starting to claim the African ancestry. They're starting to claim the Blackness. I'm talking Indians from India. For our brothers in the US who love to claim to be Indian, no, that's not it. I'm talking about Blacks in India. More and more are claiming the Africanness because there are millions of them over there. Millions. I mean, I can go in left. It can be a full topic. I've presented on it, actually. In 2024, I'm going to say 9 years ago, I worked with the leading anti-caste activists of India. There are millions of Black people in India, darker than us, but they have a culture of looking down at Black skin. The scale of the mind is starting to become free, and they're starting to recognize just because they have silky hair doesn't mean that they're white. They're starting to reclaim the Blackness. It's growing. It's growing, my friends. Yeah.
So let's take a look. As the decade comes to an end, what things from your lens have been achieved?
I think that there are forums is already a great thing. Yes, that's great. We can come together and all that. But the real impact is what you see in terms of notably governments in the states where we are at. So when we look at such a thing as the Canadian government giving millions for the development of Black communities, but it goes back to what I said from the very start: fiscal responsibility and ethical management. The fact that you say, because and I was there actually in February when the federal launch of Black History Month. The fact that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau comes and say the Canadian government will extend the decade till I think 2027 or 2028, and more money is gonna come, it's meaningless if it's not properly managed. It's also meaningless if you have a system where black people have to return that money. It's grants. I mean, the United States gives how many billions every year to Israel? Is Israel ever asked to repay that money? No, no, it's not. So we literally want to have black communities thriving, but don't get me wrong, it is not a matter of saying just give us a blank check. It's developing our community so we are no longer dependent, less dependent, no longer dependent, but we are communicating and basically helping one another as black communities and notably connecting with the nations of Africa. Another positive outcome that has come is the addition to the African Union. The African Union has a development agenda, Agenda 2063. 2063 for the 100 years since the founding of the former OAU, Organization of African Union. So basically, 100 years of Pan Africanism. It is not perfect. I critiqued it last year when I talked about how there is still an Abrahamic lens to it, aka a dismissal or recognition of African slash Black LGBTQ. For anyone wondering why is Cesar always talking about LGBTQ, it is not some type of agenda or whatever you want to call it. My brother and sister, one doesn't stop being my brother or sister because of the sexual orientation. Because if that's the case, then James Baldwin is not my brother. Then I have a bad tendency to forget his name. Undercover brother, the mentor, Bayard Rustin, the mentor of Martin Luther King, is not my brother. And yet Martin Luther King, just as Malcolm X, respected him. Audre Lorde is not my sister. We can disagree on whatever she may have said or how she may have put it, but we stand on the shoulders of giants in the black community. Some of those giants were part of the LGBTQ community, just as to Islam and Christianity coming to Africa, there is no reported persecution of Africans LGBTQ. So those are some of the advances, along, of course, more mobilization among Black organizations and Black communities. We can notably even see the link right now with some of the protests that are happening beyond Black Lives Matter, but also even now, the movement regarding support to Gaza and Palestine, where there's many Black people involved. I'm not involved. I'm not here to pretend that I am, but we have to recognize that, many of our Black people are seeing many of the links that are happening. You already know my position regarding support to Palestine. Like I said, where's the support for Haiti and Congo? I want to see to that point. But the point is more consciousness, more mobilization. This is really the concrete things that I've seen. Yes, the fact that there's money, unfortunately, you see, allow me to share this thing that my father told me when I was a teenager. My father had told me, and this is not taking a dig at a Black male celebrity, because, I actually like this Black male celebrity, but I think everybody will understand. My father had told me it's best to be poor but intelligent than to be rich like Mike Tyson. Why? You can be rich as Mike Tyson, but you can lose it all. But if you're poor, you may not be as rich as Mike Tyson, but you won't have to be in the situations that Mike Tyson was in because of being misguided. Manages how to manage that. Maybe it's a bad comparison, but it's something that I always remember in terms of Black consciousness, in terms of not letting ourselves be lured, be guided, be fooled by money, because too often money has been what has brought down great potential in the Black community. Money, it's not money per se, it's proximity to whiteness. It's how it changes people. When I became a regional director, many people thought I was going to change. I'm still here. My earrings didn't come off. I still wear traditional outfits. My traditional hat is still there. It's the consciousness, it's the coming together, it's the exchanging, it's taking advantage of today's technologies such as WhatsApp and others to be able to stay in touch, to support one another. That's really what I'm talking about.
Got it. Good stuff. What should we as Africans be doing to advance? Well, you're sounding confident there's going to be another decade. What can we
Yes.
do starting today to advance this further ahead?
We have to talk about it. We have to share it, just like you did in terms of sharing my speech. But it's not just my speech. It's I mean, I can give the link to the web UN TV. There's a link on the UN website. The United Nations has an official website of basically live recording of everything that goes on at the UN. It is totally accessible. Let us share the knowledge about things about our people to one another. It's like in education. There comes a point where you cannot complain about the white teacher not teaching African or Black history to your children if you yourself don't even know it, if you yourself don't even teach it. We have to talk and support our own. That's where it really begins. That's where it creates that sense of community. That's where basically it becomes a matter of one should not need to become the next MLK or Malcolm X or Mandela or more populist name right now. One should not require fame to have support from the community. The support should be there. So, because also the media have not been present as I consider and others consider as they should have been. Is it entirely our fault? No. Because I do recall, I think it was back in 2018, I do recall when I was among other Black community leaders here in Ottawa, the Parliament. I do recall when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had made the announcement of signing into the decade and recognizing anti-Black racism and systemic racism in Canada. I do recall the reaction of the overwhelmingly, or maybe all white journalists there, that simply dismissed the topic. So it has to be made alive.
Excellent.
For us, by us.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What calls to action do you have for the countries that haven't come on board, or those who say they're on board, but they haven't done the next step, like how you said about China earlier? What is your call to action to all these countries that haven't made a movement on this initiative?
You see, at an international level, I don't work by moral appeal. It's a matter of interest. China is financing this initiative, and notably the UN, because China wants to increase its importance in the world, notably towards African countries. It's a matter of interest. This is the same type of logic by which the United States, 60 years ago, basically worked towards desegregation, ending segregation in the United States, not out of love for African Americans, but because of the fear of the 50 plus African countries starting to side more with the USSR and China. So it's a matter of interest. That's all it is. For the countries that have not yet signed on board, it is not complicated. It's for Africa, aka African nations, to become more united through notably the African Union, and to have a more concrete weight. A more concrete weight, notably through the BRICS, through the BRICS organization, in terms of weighing more. And an example is the whole process that's going on right now regarding exiting the dominance of the US dollar as the international trade money. By doing so, you end up weighing more for countries that notably have Black communities to better treat Black people. Said this: the Black men, so Black people, will not be respected and cannot be respected in America because Africa is not respected. At the same time, Africa cannot be respected if Black peoples are not respected outside of Africa. If you want a perfect example of this, we look at the communities, minority communities that are respected, they tend to be strong. Jewish, Chinese, Indian, Japan. There is a link between the immigrant communities and the respectability given to the nation because their nation, their home nation, stands strong. So when we look at, for example, let's say as you, Dr. Vibe, originally from Jamaica, as me, originally from Cameroon, it is wonderful that Jamaica has great sprinters. It is wonderful that Cameroon is known in terms of football, soccer.
Soccer, yeah.
But those are not fields of respect. Those are fields of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Control our resources. When we control our economy, that's when we start to get respect. And as such, people from Cameroon, people from Jamaica become far less victim of police brutality out there.
Mm-hmm.
For those who think, Cesar, you're exaggerating, as I said in my speech, 30 years ago, there was a genocide in Rwanda. Today, 30 years later, Great Britain will be sending the illegal migrants to Rwanda. Rwanda has advertising on football pitches, on football fields in Europe. We can criticize President, dictator, Paul Kagame. We can criticize his behavior towards Congo, but Congo has a lot of itself to blame. But at the end of the day, people of Rwanda in the world are not treated the same as the rest of Africans.
All right. How has the Geneva experience changed you at all, if any?
I would say beyond the fact that I got to speak, at first I did not want to go. I didn't want to go as I didn't speak last year. And as I told people, I am not just there to look pretty. So people, thank you for finding that I dress well, I look good, but yeah, for me that's natural. I got things to say. I don't come in the room just to be good to look at. So if there's one thing that I can say, out of Geneva, I got a new expression. Arrogant like a peacock, standing proud like a lion. Because that's really what it is about. We look good. We got a lot of talent. Don't stand proud. If we don't stand strong, if we don't stand in solidarity to honor our ancestors, to continue the fight to create, as I said, a better world for our children, it's useless. We can say Geneva, we can say New York City. 2025, will it be in Brasilia, in Brazil? Will it be in New York City? Wherever it will be, it means nothing if we just go there to make it a show, kind of like a new Black elite bourgeois. Like, look at us, look at the nice photos, and I'm standing here and I got selected, and it means nothing. Nobody cares. You think that white racist cop is going to care that I was at the United Nations in Geneva and that's going to prevent any police brutality? Of course not. Of course not. It means nothing. It's the standing together, the bringing for the solidarity, creating stronger communities. That's what I remind my Black people. I can become a millionaire tomorrow. It will mean nothing. Look at what just happened. And I know it's not one of our conversations topic, but isn't it interesting to see what happened to Didi, billionaire, how the FBI and I'm assuming it's the FBI, came into his mansion Meanwhile, we have 45 still going golfing 3 years after January 6th.
Well,
81, what is it? Case, no, not cases, in court for, like,
yeah.
the examples are many. It means nothing. So it's not billionaire status that protects us. It's not fame that protects us. OJ died, and please don't get me wrong. I was not a fan of OJ, but I remember as a teenager, I didn't even know who was OJ until that thing happened. But I just remember, so I remember, like, apparently, I mean, look, and anyone, please understand, teenager, I'm from France, I don't even speak English, but apparently, if you're black, you're supposed to be happy that OJ got found innocent. Okay. What am I supposed to say? I didn't even know American football at the time. OJ died. Look, white America is celebrating like it's the return of Jesus Christ. But what I mean is the sense of the community, is the coming together. Because, like I say, 2024, things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse. White supremacy is worse. The enemies of our people are organized, and they're getting even more organized. We cannot fool ourselves with such a thing as having gone to the United Nations if we don't come back and stand stronger. And to give you a better example, in 2 days, Tuesday, North-South Development Roots and Culture Canada, in our offices, we are having an event for support to Haiti. In light of everything that's going on in that country, we are having an event. Maybe the media will be there. Maybe they won't be. But we will be there with members of the Haitian community to show support. That's what I'm talking about. And we are there to show support to all our brothers and sisters on the four corners of the world who are doing the good things to advance the Pan-Africanist cause of our ancestors.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That, I think, Cesar, I think you put a bow and wrap on it. Anything else you wanted to chat about before we let you go?
I think I really appreciate that you gave the time to address
my
and unpack
pleasure.
this.
No, my pleasure and my honor. What would you like to see for the next decade? Let's just visualize in 10 years' time. You get it. Like, I'm speaking, you're going to share at every one, but in, like, even maybe not 10, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, what would you like to see it look like?
Now, brother Dr. Vibe, I don't know if you want me to say it here, because that's what I'm planning on saying next year.
Okay, we'll keep quiet. All right, but, we'll keep it quiet then.
Some people in Geneva got a taste.
Okay.
Of what, so let me put it like this. Last year in New York, I didn't get to speak.
Yep.
But allow me to honor many people from different countries who mobilized for me to speak. What I said this year, and people are going to hear it, that's what I was going to say last year.
Yep.
This year, there's another aspect of, because of course you get 2 minutes, you give me 5 minutes, you give me 1 hour, I don't have a problem to fill the time. There are other things I wanted to address. Some of the people are people of our groups, the international groups that created our Black activists. They know what I'm going to say. So next year, whether we are in Brasilia, in Brazil, or New York City, yes, people know. People are like, yes, we need to hear it. Because it's not about being... certain things need to be said. But if I can give you a hint...
Go ahead.
You heard me say it here. More and more Indians are starting to claim... Well, Indians, Dravidians, Indians are starting to claim the African identity. There's a culture shock that's coming. There's an identity shock that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not ready for this. I, Cesar Ndema-Moussa, my vision of Pan-Africanism is not a secret. I've always said it. It's universal Pan-Africanism.
All right. Got it. Well, my brother, it's great to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'd heard through some other sources, Cesar was fire over there. So I felt my ears sort of burning when you were away going, okay, got to get it back. I want to say a big shout out to Ketcha Peters. Huge, huge, huge shout out to Ketcha. And Ketcha, I mean, like you, between yourself and Ketcha Peters, what you do is not hard work, it's heart work. So I know that if you two over there, I know at least there's two good people at least over there. So I'll take two instead, and I'll take you two. If anyone else is a bonus.
Thank you.
All right.
She believes in the cause. I know the cause.
She does. I know she does. I know she does. And one day we'll get you on Ketcha. One day. But actually, you know what'd be really good? You and I interview her. I think that would be really interesting to interview her, but got to work on getting her on. But as always, you can reach out to Cesar, president at rootsandculturecanada.com, and Facebook is there, Cesar Remy Emery. And also, again, I've put it in the comments section wherever you're watching this live or on the replay. As always, to you and your family. And notice Cesar doesn't have any interruptions today. The house is empty. I was going to take him a little bit longer, but I said, you know what? Let's take advantage of the time while we got it. We don't want to take it. But as always, again, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And we got to see each other soon. I know the last time you were here in the GTA to get you. So next time, and I know that it'll be good. And Michelle, as always, your #1 fan, Michelle, about to give a thumbs up. And she says, I got to meet that guy. So we'll make it happen. So take care, my brother. Be well.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Cesar broke it down. There's the link for his speech again. I'm putting it up on the screen. If you want to catch it again, it's also in the comments section wherever you're watching this live or on the replay. Let's do this. You can watch replays of this conversation. It's scrolling along the bottom. If you're watching it live on replay, or if you're listening to the replay, I'll say to you, you can watch replays of the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and also on my website, thedrvibeshow.com. Other stuff, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. You can also follow me at Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform or any of the platforms that I host, please feel free to email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And also, if you want to get in touch with me, that's all the contact places. Website, as I said, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, thedrvibeshow.com. Instagram at thedrvibeshow. The DRVIBESHOW, X/Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, and email dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. So as always, we like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions, and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And we want to say thank you for giving us and Cesar the most valuable thing you have, time, and share it out. Share it out. Be well. Keep the faith.